Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday. It is the Earthmaster out here on this Thursday, March 14th, 2024. It's about 10:42 a.m. California time. Latest activity looks like a 1.6 into the Texas area. The latest quake there on the globe. Also, we did see some activity on the in the Gulf of California here fairly recently. A 4.2 being reported within this zone. USGS not picking up on this earthquake yet. Possibly they could later throughout the day today. But we are seeing a little bit of migration here from this pattern of quakes down across the Middle America Trench. It looks like it is working its way northward here slightly. We'll continue to watch that for some further activity. Also a 3.3 coming into the area around the Dominican Republic right there in the red flag. Looks like USGS not picking up on that yet either. Some of these earthquakes here from yesterday. So I'm pretty certain we've seen a handful of smaller quakes here since then, but not a whole lot of reporting there on the USGS side. Across the South America region, activity working its way down south across Chile since yesterday's 5-pointer there into the area. Let's pull up the USGS map here. I'm pretty certain they have that. 5-pointer coming in into the center portion here of Chile. Looks like the majority of these here are from yesterday. It's updating, but we do have a little bit of activity further down the line here as well, with a 4.1 being reported at the southern end of Chile down here. So I'm not for sure why USGS isn't picking up on that. Maybe they're having some issues out there with reporting. All right, one earthquake, 2.2 outside of the Kilauea volcano to the northwest here, about 2 kilometers below the surface. Not a big earthquake, but a little odd one out there. And for the most part, activity here across the Pahala area and the Kilauea volcano are from yesterday. No new major changes to take note of out there across the volcanoes for now. So what's happened overnight as far as large-scale activity goes? Well, let's check out the largest magnitude out here. And, of course, on the 14th, it'd be that 5.6. Looks like here just off the east coast of Japan. 53 kilometers deep into the Japan Trench right here. Did see some further activity prior to that upstream at the northern edge of the Japan Trench. So it looks like technically this region right here under quite a bit of strain as a whole. Due to the pressure in that area from the Pacific Plate. This is going to be this area right here. Japan right here. You got the Pacific Plate heading off. It's going to be this dull yellow color. Heading off to the northwest, creating that subduction zone, the Kuril-Kamchatka, and the Japan Trench there. Notice how all the arrows are kind of pointing in this direction. You got momentum from the north hitting this area, momentum from the west over here, the Eurasia Plate, all slamming into this area. This is pretty much the crunch zone, so to speak, in terms of earthquake activity. And it's been a while since we've seen any major large-scale movement up here across the Kuril-Kamchatka. Kind of keeping an eye on that. But today, activity looks like it's straining there around the Japan Trench, so we'll definitely watch that further. As far as New Zealand goes, let's see if we've had any activity down there overnight. Been watching that. Looks like we did fill in slightly here across our quiet zone with a 4.8 outside of the Vanuatu region. That's going to be this earthquake right here, 163 kilometers deep. So this is just another deep earthquake here. This zone has been relatively quiet, roughly about Fiji up to the Papua New Guinea area. But we did see a 6-pointer coming in here yesterday. So I was waiting for this to fill in. We did fill in a little bit overnight, but this is some deeper movement. That just leads me to believe that there's some further stress at the surface levels here that needs to take place. Okay, now back at New Zealand, seeing a handful of earthquakes out here as well. Quite a few 3s stirring up on our North Island area. So let's go see what's going on there across New Zealand real quick. And there's a 2.9 upstream here. Not very deep, 14 kilometers deep here on the North Island side. 3.1 roughly within that same area, about 13 kilometers deep there 32 minutes ago. Definitely looks like things starting to stir back up out here across the area. Well, they've been minor to moderate activity here. Been expecting some larger scale movement, but we've been getting a lot of these 2s and 3s just all over the place. there's some deeper activity right here about 54 minutes ago, another 3.2 in this area. So seismically speaking, this whole area around North Island is active in terms of, being having a lot of earthquakes here recently. In the last, I'd say about the last 5 or 6 days, I've seen a lot of deeper activity underneath the North Island area. And, a little bit of surface adjustment going on here as well across the Hikurangi subduction zone. So we'll continue to watch that. But for now, no major earthquake activity, but do keep that in mind there across the region. There's that 5.6 up on the globe off the coast of Japan. Far as Alaska goes, let's see what's going on up here real quick. Grab the USGS map. A handful of earthquakes up here through the Cook Inlet area, stretching up through Anchorage and into, it looks like just outside of Fairbanks area. Seen a handful of smaller quakes. Far as the 2.5 map and above, that's it. A handful. Nothing major going on. I'm really not seeing any unusual swarming. Far as Canada goes, let me pull up the latest earthquakes map here from Canada. Let's see what's going on up north here from me. Far as earthquake activity goes, last earthquake here in the purple circle. Bring the legend up here so you guys can see. Looks like that is near the Haynes Junction area. A little small quake, 2.3. Also another red circle here indicating a most recent earthquake as well, 2.1. Not a whole lot of activity stirring up out here across Canada for now. We had seen within the last week or so, last couple weeks, some elevated activity out here across the northern edge of the Cascadia subduction zone and the North American Pacific plate boundary here, but looks like that has died off here slightly. Not seeing a whole lot of activity here, at least in the last 24 hours. Across the rest of the globe here, there's that earthquake from last night, 5.4 stirring up out here. Let's see what we got as far as earthquakes in this region. Looks like it's calmed down a little bit. We're still seeing some aftershock activity following that 5.4 in this area. A little bit of movement out here into the looks like the Red Sea area, 4.9. USGS not picking up on that either. Not for sure what's going on. They may be having some issues. Far as the Atlantic goes, looks like some Iceland activity stirring up, 2.9. So let's go check it out, see what's going on over here across the area. There's a 3.2. That's a pretty, well, that looks like that was from today. Not a big earthquake, but some minor movement going on there. For the most part, though, looks like things are quite elevated out here across Grindavik area today. Let me double check here real quick what's going on. I always like to double check the Live from Iceland site to see if anything's stirring up out here. From a visual perspective, looks like there's snow falling out there in this area. Quite a few snow flurries. Let's see here. The site is called livefromiceland.is. I don't see any signs of eruptive activity. Let me go back here and look, but it definitely looks a lot more elevated out here today across these boundaries. Now, I'm uncertain, though, on if any of this is having an effect with weather activity. I wonder if that negative activity here recently has to do with the weather. I'm getting a lot of negative quakes, negative 1.5, negative 2. So I think that has something to do with the weather out there. But as far as earthquake activity, it definitely looks a little elevated out here, specifically around the Grindavik region. That's not a good sign. It's a movement up to the northeast as well. Let's see if we got any update here from the Icelandic Meteorological Office, or the Icelandic Met Office, a lot of people like to call it. Really no new change here. Let me blow up, get this a little bit larger here. This is from yesterday, or actually 2 days ago. They were just chatting about the increased likelihood of an eruption, but they've been saying this here for a couple weeks now, and it's just been delayed here. I'm sure we're at a good volume of magma. Looks like the volume of magma below the surface here has reached about 8 to 13 million cubic meters, and it's more than likely is at its threshold in terms of the pressure buildup. So we'll continue to watch that. But looking at earthquake activity, it does look like there's some migration going on there towards the southwest, closer to the Grindavik area. All right, anything else going on here on the Earthquake 3D globe? Doesn't look like it. So we'll just kind of watch this today, see how it plays out. Still getting some, like I said, there's deeper activity across the Vanuatu area. It can get, it definitely needs to get a little bit more active than that. This region can see large earthquakes on any given day out here, and it's been a few days. At 4.8, it's like the only earthquake in the last 4 or 5 days or so within this region. So New Zealand's still somewhat amplified. We'll definitely keep an eye on New Zealand today. Yellowstone National Park, they were having a little bit of earthquake activity up there last night, along with some wind events coming in. So it kind of cluttered the seismograph station. It looks like we've seen a handful of smaller quakes there overnight. Those are very small earthquakes. Some of that may be wind events as well. It does look like we got some further wind coming in here. And by wind, I mean wind. A lot of these seismograph stations out there pick up wind out here. So not a whole lot, but I'm sure some of these areas may see some higher gusts, 20 to 30 miles an hour out there. And sometimes they can show up there on the seismographs. All right, let's check out space weather real quick, and then we'll look at the severe weather outlook today, because it's kind of a serious deal. It's a tornado potential day for sure. Not a whole lot of flaring activity taking place here. Looks like we did see some sea flare activity from that far side sunspot. Now, 3599 over here was visible last night. Today, not so much. It's off of the western limb here. These are some other weaker spots, but yeah, that's out of sight, out of mind. Literally, there is not a whole lot here on the Earth-facing side of the sun, folks, for flaring. This region that I did have some high hopes for has taken a turn for the worse and split. And I guess the only thing that we can look forward to here in the coming days or so is maybe a return visit from our old sunspot, 3590, which is still on the far side of the sun, about ready to crest over here across the eastern limb. That is the source of numerous X flares here a couple weeks back. So we should be seeing some signs of that. Let me see if they got the most recent data here. Now, this is put out from yesterday. But it does look still fairly complex out here, at least looking at this view. We won't get a better view of it, obviously, until it crests over here across the eastern limb. And then from there, we can look at the magnetic structure that it harbors. Either way, that will be venturing back around for a second visit. In the meantime, 75% chance for C flare, M flare at 15, X flare 5%. Why these are 15 and 5, I have no clue. That's just what's being listed on here. There's definitely it's probably because of 3599 out there when it was visible, but now it's out of sight, out of mind. So those are very, this should be probably 5%, maybe 10%, and 1% for the X flare, because there's really no threat out there on the Earth-facing side. No auroras in the forecast, unfortunately. Auroras are a beautiful sight to see, right? Definitely, I would love to see some down here in Northern California. All right, so we do have a big-time severe weather day here. Look at that. That is stretching across a large portion of the states with a huge enhanced area. Okay, you guys ready? We got a huge 10% hatched area today of tornado activity. Not too often do we see this, but man, the Storm Prediction Center here went aggressive here on this forecasting. So if you're out here today within these regions, a hatched area is basically an area that where all the dynamics are, so to speak, where we could see some larger activity. Had to refresh that there because it didn't look like it was updating, but now it is. So the hatched area, not for sure why they have that into the Let's see what we got here. Oh, this is picking up hail. So tornado activity. What is going on here? That's a little weird. I got this maybe too big for one. Let's tone this down a little bit. The hatched area right here is around Little Rock, Fort Smith, North Little Rock, Conway, Hot Springs, a lot of Arkansas, and a lot of southeastern Oklahoma in that hatched area. Now, the hatched area is an area of 10% or greater probability of some big-time tornadoes. We're talking up to EF5, the strongest there is, within 25 miles of a point. Today is not a day to ignore the weather. A lot of days, it's rainy, it's cloudy, it's windy, people staying inside, watching TV or whatever on YouTube. Don't get complacent today out there, because this is the day that things can go quite on the wrong side, because the tornado chances out here are quite high today. So technically, if you're within any of this area, the green, the 5% zone, the 10%, and then the 10% hatched area, just pay attention to the weather. Keep your windows open so you can see what's going on outside. Keep your weather radio on. And most likely, you might want to put your car in the carport or underneath an awning somewhere, because there's a huge hail threat out here. Yesterday, we've seen a couple tornadoes there in eastern Kansas. That weather has shifted to the southeast here a little bit, but it's broader compared to yesterday. More chances of some severe weather. And that includes a large region here of the hatched area for hail. Now, the hatched area includes a 10% or greater probability of 2-inch diameter hail or larger within 25 miles of point. So at least baseball, maybe bigger in some of these models here. So this is all the wording right here, but it's very serious. Also some wind events out there as well. So just pay attention to what's going on. Far as, let's see what we got going on here for current weather. Okay, so here is the zone, the hatched area. Out here, where are we at? We're at Fort Smith, Oklahoma City. So we're already getting some storms firing up out here. What is that, early afternoon out there right now. Some of these storms already severe warned. There is looks like there's a tornado watch here in effect as well across this area. This was issued by the Storm Prediction Center there. Tornado watch for portions of central eastern Oklahoma, north central Texas. So roughly from 11:10 a.m. until about 6 p.m. Central Time, there could be a few tornadoes out there, and a couple tornadoes, intense tornadoes. Widespread large hail and scattered very large hail events to 3 inches in diameter. That's crazy. That's some big-time hail. It takes one of those to ruin your day. So keep your car out of the elements today. So that is the tornado watch. It's more than likely that we will see another region out here, maybe a second tornado watch. But for right now, this is the area where it's at. Again, the hatched area sits all the way to the east here. And the main hazard zone, like they mentioned there, the main area for tornadoes is going to be roughly within this zone right here. So that includes obviously where they got the tornado watch at. But I think they'll probably issue a second tornado watch here. Let's see. Are you guys able to see that? Hopefully. I forgot I had changed a couple things here. All right, it looks like it's okay. All right, so yeah, just heads up if you're out here today, anywhere within this zone, be on guard for tornado activity and obviously some big time hail threats out here. And again, this is just the current radar. Let me see if I can bring up some localized radars out here. This is probably about the closest one here. Yeah, that's a pretty nice squall line taking place here. It's when these thunderstorms are individual like this, you can get these rapidly rotating supercells, and then you get the tornado potential. But also, you can obviously get the tornado potential in these lines as well. But this looks like a serious day for that severe weather. Again, it looks like it's going to be about Seminole, Oklahoma, eastward for now, venturing into the area of best dynamics in terms of producing these rotating supercells, and the environment's very favorable for large hail out here, as they mentioned, up to 3 inches in diameter. That is just that's a big one. Like I said, it only takes one of those flying through the air, and your windshield's gone, or literally it could do some damage to people as well. That would not be good. So heads up, guys, okay? Severe weather, a big threat out there today into the portions of the southern plains and the Midwest out here. Tomorrow, the story looks a little bit different, but still got some slight risk down in Texas. Broad area of thunderstorm activity with a marginal risk out here. We'll have to take a closer look at that tonight once they get some better dynamics out, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as an eventful day. It's just got to be prepared, folks. Yesterday's storm reports, check these out. We've seen about 3, well, they got 4 up here now, 4 tornado reports there in the red. Kansas, a lot of hail reports being reported there yesterday. Golf ball, half dollar, quarter size, which is basically an inch. Yeah, a lot of hail going on, so just be weather aware today. It's a big deal. All right, numerical models out here. This is where all the activity is going to stir up today. We'll see that as it advances throughout the runs here, and that weather will shift down to the southeast. It won't be as strong as the time gets down there across the Georgia area, and into Florida might miss out on it. But far as that goes, we're in a pattern here. Look at that, maybe potential severe weather on that day as well. That's going to be the March 27th time period. That's your classic setup here of cold, low pressure interacting with the warm Gulf moisture, and that's your typical springtime severe weather event right there. So we'll see how that takes place. Either way, it's probably going to be an active year, folks, for some severe weather. The West Coast, we get another storm system. It looks like maybe on the 23rd of March out here. After that, it looks like a couple days of unsettled conditions. And, of course, what goes on here across the West Coast has an effect of what goes on here across this area of the country as well. These cutoff lows can really interact with the warm moisture there from the Gulf and create these severe weather potentials. And it looks like there's a few that we got to deal with here by the end of March time frame. So we'll continue to watch that and report back on the situation. Looks like we have a tornado warning already up here north. You guys see that? Let's see what's going on up there. That radar is offline. Oh yeah, I can already see it there, kind of twisting here. You guys see that little hook echo? That is a classic sign there of a potential tornado. Now, far as the velocities go, it's right around the Madison area. What we look for in terms of the viewing here is the mixture here of the radar and picking up the wind, so to speak, in this area. One color is going away from the radar, one's coming towards it. So you get this rotating wind here, which is a classic sign of a tornado. It does look like that could be getting ready to produce. Let's see what we got for tornado activity. That's going to be in That's going to be this one right here, I believe. See what it got. It looks like it expires here in about 22 minutes. A confirmed tornado was located over Madison, moving east at 45 miles per hour. So this was confirmed. Again, this is what we look for here. Emergency management confirmed the tornado. Goodness. So, and this area right here, Indiana and Kentucky, are in the What do we got up there? Let me check here. Indiana and Kentucky are in just basically the slight risk category. So, and that was, well, tornado potential stretched all the way into this area as well. It looks like not this hatched area, but it just goes to show you how important being within any of this area is when it comes to watching the weather. So just be safe out there, guys. Weather can be a scary thing. It's very interesting to see the weather. I absolutely love watching thunderstorms, but at the same time, you get stuff like this and going right over the town. That is a classic hook echo. Be on guard today, folks. I'll be watching it here off on the side. Of course, if anything major pops off here in terms of earthquake activity, asteroid strike, volcanic eruption, aside from the ones that are always always erupting, we'll definitely jump on here and provide some updates. Seismograph stations out here look pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, folks. Take care and stay safe.